The unknown evil is coming. Gather your resources. Prepare your armies. Get ready to fight. Because today, on Joker Reviews, we're going to be reviewing Lawklivya Vengeance. Lawklivya Vengeance is a fun, thematic worker placement game where you're trying to defeat the unknown evil and his animal warriors. The game is pretty easy to set up. You're just going to set out your player mats right here, and you're going to give out your workers of the correct color. We're doing a 2-player game, so we have to play with the yellow and red faction. You will then set out your scouting report deck. The instructions will tell you how many cards to put in this deck based on the number of players that are playing. You'll set up the communal board here. This has all of the places that you can place your workers. Hand out your reference cards to each player right here. And hand out any warriors that are needed based on the number of players and the difficulty you have set upon yourself. The game will be played in 3 chapters. The chapters are determined by how you're told to set up the scouting report deck at the beginning of each chapter. In the first chapter, you will have 6 all-clear days. That means, from this deck, you will end up drawing 6 all-clear cards for each player at the beginning of each round. And then, after you draw through those 6 all-clear cards, you will then hit the first of your enemies that you're going to come up against, and that will be the Raccoon Scout. And then you will have to actually do combat. In Chapter 2, you will take your scouting report deck, all of your all-clear cards here, and you will shuffle in the enemy cards. You can see these enemy cards right here. You'll shuffle them in, so they'll come out as you're drawing them each turn, and you have to defeat a certain number of enemies before you're able to move on. Chapter 3 is a bit different. That's your final battle, and we'll get to that a little later just because it's really different from the other chapters. So when you're not battling beasties, what are you able to do? You're able to place your workers into some of these places here. You can see there are some on the communal pad, and there are also some on your player mat that you're able to interact with. Let's go through one at a time what each of these places does. Let's start with the farm. There should actually be 4 tokens here. And if you were to place your worker in the farm, you would place it directly on the food token. That means at the end, you'll be able to collect that food token. Now let's move over to the quarry. So, if you were to place a worker on the quarry, it would go here. The red faction actually doesn't have to go to the rest spot, but let's pretend like they do. When you place your first worker there, it goes into the rest spot. Say another player comes over, places a worker, also goes into the rest spot. The third player to try and place a worker will push that first worker onto the actual resource. If they don't push them onto the resource and they end in the rest spot, then what would happen is the next turn they would move up to the resource, so they would kind of have to hang out there. But as we were saying, the red faction doesn't have to. They can just go immediately to that resource. Let's leave them there. Now let's discuss the forest. So just like the quarry, you'd have to go to the rest spot, and then you can move up to the wood. You can also get pushed up. The yellow faction is just like the red faction with the quarry, where they don't have to wait and they can go right to the wood. What are some other spots you can go to? You can go here. That is a spot that allows you to get more of your workers. So say you want to expand your workforce to be able to do other things. You can go there, and after the turn when your worker comes back, it'll come back with an extra worker. Taking a look over here, you can go to the marketplace over here. That allows you to trade with other players. It's actually called the trading post, so it kind of tells you right in the name. You can trade resources there. And what's this spot, you might ask? This is where you can actually place some of your warriors in order to help your fellow castles defend off when they're in the middle of combat. That pretty much sums up this communal area here and the different places you can go to. You can see there are some black circles here. Those will be if you're in games that have 3 or more players in them. Extra recruiting spot, extra resource gathering spots, extra food gathering spots. That's just so you have enough places to place your little meeple guys. Now that we've talked about the communal areas you can go to, let's talk about the ones on your player mat. The first one right here is the workshop. if you go to the workshop, you can discard resources equivalent to what is on your reference card based on what weapon you want to make. So in the case of making a sword, you would discard 1 food, 1 stone, and you'd be able to make a sword. If you had a warrior that is unarmed, you can actually put that warrior on top of that sword, and now that warrior is able to use that sword. This area here is the training barracks. The training barracks allows you to take one of your workers and convert them into a warrior. So how you would do that is right here. Food plus either a stone or a wood plus your worker creates a warrior. So at the end of that turn, that worker would then become one of these, become an unarmed warrior. This spot right here allows you to take one of your workers, place them on here, and you'd be able to, again, use this little reference thing, be able to do ×2 of any of these items here and turn that worker, I keep saying the wrong one, that worker into a scout. So that's going to create this little meeple guy here. So the worker will move over and he will vanish and become a scout. Scouts are useful when it comes to being able to look at the scouting report ahead of time and know what you're going to be drawing. This last spot here, I guess not the last spot because this is storage over here, but this spot here, you can actually take one of your warriors and you can place them right there, pay your resources just like referenced on here, and at the end of the first day, you're going to move them to this side. They actually have to wait because you see this little waiting mark here. So they would move to the second spot here, and then after the second day, they get to move and turn into this guy, a hero. A hero is able to wield 2 weapons when your warriors are only able to wield 1. So they're stronger, they're harder to kill, they take 2 rolls against them to kill, and you're going to want one of these on your side when you're facing up against those monsters. Gets to go in this little spot up here, gets to stand here and train all your warriors. So these guys are really cool. The last space we're going to talk about is your wall space. These have to be upgraded at the same time, but what you would do is you would take your workers, put 1 worker on each, stay like this until the end of the day. So you'd have your workers here, you would pay your resources based on what you need here. So it's 4 resources plus 2 workers, and you'll be able to build up both sections of wall at the same time. So at the end of the day, you've paid your price, and now you have upgraded walls. This is a little extra protection for when your castle is getting attacked, and it's also a little extra spot for your archers to sit during battles. So now that we have talked about placing your workers, let's talk about combat. Say you drew this cat guy here. It's going to tell you how much health it has based on the difficulty you choose and how many dice it gets to roll. So because this is not your boss monster, you get to roll the less impressive gray dice here. So these gray dice, they're going to have some kill symbols and they're going to have some block symbols. This guy gets to roll 2 of these gray dice. So you're going to put 2 of those into the dice that you're going to roll. You would then gather up the dice based on the weapons that you have available to you. So say you had this set up here. Oh, forgot to put this guy here. So say you have this set up here. You've moved all of your warriors up. The first phase is to move all of your warriors into position, get them all ready, and then that's when you're going to start rolling. So you're going to look at the weapons that you have. So you have 1 unarmed warrior here. So they get the fist die right here. You have an archer here. And you have an archer that was loaned to you by one of the other players. You can see that that's a different warrior than the red faction. So you're going to grab another archer die for that loaned warrior. And 1 for your one on the wall. You are then going to grab, for these guys here, they have swords. So you've equipped them with swords. So you're going to be able to get 2 sword die. So it's 2 sword die here, added to your little pool here. And then you have 2 axes underneath your hero. So your hero is going to get to roll your axes here. So in the case of, that was my die hitting the ground. Let's bring out our little dice roller. You're going to roll all these die, including the enemy die, into your little dice roller or onto your table, and you're going to count up your hits. So in this case, we have hits from 2 hits from the axe, another hit from an axe, that's 3, 2 archer hits, 1 sword hit, missed on the unarmed, missed on the sword, but you got 2 kills. So what's going to happen is you have rolled enough if you're on easy difficulty, and you've rolled about 6, so you've rolled almost enough on the middle difficulty. You're only halfway there if you're on the hard difficulty. But say we're playing on easy, so we had enough that we could kill it, but it also rolled 2 kills. So you have to take out 2 of your warriors and their weapons. So say he kills the archer guy, and he kills your little unarmed guy. But in this scenario, you have actually beaten your opponent here. So you're successful in your combat with only losing 2 of your warriors. Let's go over a slightly different scenario. So in this scenario, we only have our sword guys, we have our 2 axe dice, and we have 1 archer die. But I'm going to pretend like we didn't have those other 2. So let's see, in this scenario, we rolled this as our result. So we rolled this as our result. In this case, we only did 3 damage, but they rolled a block. That means that the strongest attack gets blocked and negated. So in this scenario, we only rolled 1 hit after the block, and they got to kill somebody. So in this scenario, say you would kill this guy right here, and they would only take 1 damage out of 5. You would have to then roll again, but you'd be missing one of your swords people. So let's roll again, see what happens. So in this scenario, got another block and another kill. So you're going to negate one of those damage types here. So let's negate this one. And you're going to do 1 additional damage. You're going to mark off your damage with these little guys here. So at this point, we would be up to 2 damage. So we'd have 2 of those on there. And then once you get up to 3, you'll be able to transfer over to this guy, which has the 3 dots on it. And they would kill another warrior. So we would lose our other swordsman. Let's roll again. Kill. No blocks this time. So we would actually be able to do enough damage to kill it. They're going to take out 1 more warrior, so we'd have to lose one of our hits here, one of our weapons, because the hero takes 2, because it has 2 weapons. But this guy would be able to be killed, and we would be successful in this combat again. Let's check out one more scenario. Say your enemy got through your front line. It's now going to attack your walls. All you can attack back with are your archers. So if you didn't have a lot of archers, then you're kind of stuck with that. You can have 4 on your walls here. What you're going to do is you're going to take the number of archer die that you need based on the ones that you have, and you're going to keep rolling these, and they're just going to have a little bit of different results here. So let's roll and see what happens. So, alright, in this case we have a block and a kill. So in this scenario, we're going to do 3 damage here, because the blocks count as removing a wall token. So what's going to happen here is this counts as 2 wall tokens gone. This counts as 1 wall token gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the 3 damage. So that's going to go 3 damage to here. And we're going to lose 2 wall tokens, wall platforms here, and then an additional one. So what we do to do that is we're going to remove these 2 for the kill. And then we are going to add a broken wall here. We are then going to place our pieces back here. Your archer goes back on here. You can see there's still an archer slot, even though it is a damaged wall. We are then going to roll again. So in this case, we were able to defeat him, because these blocks do not count as blocks. They only count as a single wall removal. So they did 3 more damage, which is enough to kill him. And he destroyed one more piece of wall. So we would then add this broken wall here back onto the board. Our archers would still be able to stand there. And in that scenario, we again are able to come out victorious. If you are not able to be victorious when it comes to them attacking your walls and they destroy all of your walls, so even these last little spots here, you are then going to have to try to escape your castle. You're going to take your workers. Your archers will have been destroyed because they get destroyed as soon as the walls are gone. And you will try to escape with each of your workers. For each worker that you try to escape with, you'll roll an unarmed die. And if it comes up blank, that worker got away. If it comes up as a hand, it now represents a hand snatching your worker up. And you would lose that worker. You're trying to escape to another castle. And you would go hang out with your friends in this other castle over here when they got away. And you can try and retake the castle later, which is a really cool element of this game. What does it look like when you try to take a castle back? Well, it'll be the reverse order. Your monster will be inside the castle, and all of the occupying warriors from the other castle will line up in the front and try to assault, just like the other way around. You're going to roll kills, and you will lose warriors in clockwise order, starting with the daytime leader as the monster rolls against you. So, this is what your final battle looks like. This is the big unknown evil. He has come to take care of it himself, like Thanos, putting on that infinity gauntlet. He's going to come do it himself. What are you going up against? You're going up against a number of these boss dice. There's a double kill, there's a block, single kill. A number of these boss dice based on the amount of difficulty you're going up against. So if you're going up against easy, you're going to have 2. Medium will have 3, and hard will have 4. You are then going to give out dice to each player based on what they have in terms of their warriors that they're able to bring to the battle. So if we're looking at the red team there's an archer in the back. The archers are always in the back. They have an unarmed guy. They have 2 sword guys. They then have 2 axes for their hero. If we're looking at the yellow team, there's 2 axes for their hero, 2 sword guys, and 2 archers. So now everybody is going to roll all these dice into your dice tray or onto your table. So we have 2 blocks, no kills. Wow, actually. So 2 blocks here. So that's going to negate your 2 of your strong attacks here. So they managed to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage to the boss, and these 2 were blocked, so nobody died. 6 damage. And what are you trying to accomplish? So what you are trying to accomplish is you're going to go to this little matrix here at the end, and you're going to compare the amount of health to how much damage you roll before you're killed, before all your warriors are killed. And you're trying to check off all of these boxes on the different difficulties based on the number of players that are playing, and there's achievements over here, which is kind of cool. I like that. So if, say, you manage to roll 20 damage before you get killed by the boss, you can check off this 20 damage box right here. And that means next time you don't have to worry for 20. You can go for 21, you can go for 19. You want to get all of them eventually. So on the easy difficulty, the most damage you can roll is 30. So if you can end up rolling 30 damage before they take you out, that's what you accomplish. You have to get to at least that minimum of 18 for easy difficulty to even win. What happens when you get a kill? In the case of a hero, they would lose a weapon and they'd get to re-roll. If they rolled a double kill, the hero would die. Everybody else would move up. Same would go here. Once they lose their hero, everybody else would move up. And you keep slamming people into the boss until you either lose or you defeat the unknown evil. That's pretty much how you play the game. Now I'll meet you back up top and I'll give you my final thoughts on the game. Lawklivya Vengeance is a different kind of worker placement game where you're kind of still having that element of gathering resources and potentially getting more workers to expand your forces to go out and gather different things that you need. But it also adds in that combat element where you're rolling dice and trying to face enemies, which is kind of unique for most worker placement games. From a gameplay standpoint, it's not particularly complicated. The rulebook makes it seem a lot more complicated than it actually is. It's a little bit daunting when you see all the pieces and you see the rulebook and you see all the things you have to learn. But when you actually play the game and get into the swing of what you're doing on your turn and how combat works, it's not particularly hard to get a hang of. Once you've played through it once or twice, you're pretty good on it and you'll be able to teach other people how to play it. Let's talk about theming. I kind of like the theme behind it. I like the fact that you are defending against this unknown evil and his agents are coming to tear down your castles. I like the fact that you are defending your castle and you can actually be driven out of your castle. And then you and your allies have to band together and try and retake your castle so your workers can have a home. The difficulty scales pretty well. It starts off at easy, and with the way that the enemies scale up as you go up in difficulty, it can actually be pretty punishing on the harder difficulties. The artwork is decent, and I like the little meeple guys. Those are pretty cool. I mean, the artwork on the cards and the box design, things like that, they're nothing spectacular, but they're not bad. The one thing I will say is when you look at that box and you look at that game, you think you're going to be playing as the Animal Warriors. And I was a little disappointed when I opened up the box, read the instructions, and realized I was playing as humans. I mean, who doesn't want to be Rocket Raccoon swinging around a short sword? That's a lot cooler than being this red-bearded barbarian guy with his arms crossed. I am somebody who really likes worker placement games, and there is that element here. I don't think it has some of the draw to it that some other worker placement games that I play does, but because of the way that it structures difficulty, it definitely gives you something to strive for because it gives you that matrix at the end where you're trying to beat the boss at harder and harder difficulties and do more and more damage before it's able to beat you. If you are someone who really wants to try and complete a game, this is going to take you a long time to finally get through that whole matrix and be able to beat the boss at the maximum health. I would recommend picking up this game if you like worker placement games and you like that kind of dice rolling combat mechanic, which is pretty cool. You can get stuff like that in Champions of Midgard and other games. But this is far from the first game that I would pull off of my shelf, and if we're talking about worker placements with a combat mechanic, then I would do Midgard over this game. Midgard is a much better version of what this game is trying to do. There are elements of this game that make it unique. The fact that it's a cooperative game and not a competitive game like Champions of Midgard is. So if you're looking for that sort of dice rolling combat worker placement mixture kind of game and you want it to be cooperative, this game kind of fills that void. If you like what you saw here today, please hit that like button. Make sure that it turns blue. Leave a comment down below. What is your favorite game that has a worker placement or a dice rolling combat element to it? Subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you know what's up, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Hey! Hey! Are you listening? Hey, this is Billy West. I knew you'd recognize my voice, but sometimes you can't, because you're watching King's Entertainment Reviews. Now, I would love it, being the professor, if you'd comment, like, and subscribe. You hear that? He knows what he's talking about, because he's a smart old bastard. Yeah. All right, now, get with it.